Hello, I usurped Soviet rule with my telekinesis. But stuff still happened. So what's up? Mitch McConnell has announced that he will not be seeking re-election after the end of his current term. So let's talk about the legacy of Mitch McConnell. Let's start with the basics. This man has been in the United States Senate for 40 years and has served over a decade as the leader of the Republicans in the Senate. There's no denying the fact that he has had a gargantuan impact on the trajectory of American politics. That's his whole thing. So let's dig into some of those specifics and talk about just why he is so reviled. Let's start with his home state, Kentucky. He is a senator. The Senate in the US has 100 members, 2 per state, in order to give equal representation to each state. This means that the senator from Kentucky, a state that I and most people in this country don't live in, has been essentially dictating the course of our politics for my entire life. You might have thought it was the president. No. Not really. At time of writing, which again, reminder, is 40 years into this man's residency in the Senate, Kentucky is 43rd in the economy and 46th in healthcare among the states. During COVID, half of Kentuckians lost income, and Mitch McConnell adjourned the Senate before hearing anything about COVID relief. He infamously spearheaded the pushback against Obamacare. If he had successfully repealed it, which he almost did, he would have removed healthcare from almost 500,000 of his constituents. All the while, he cozied up to coal barons and gave massive tax breaks to CEOs of coal companies who fucked around and lost the pensions of their miners. Kentucky is big coal country, but that means coal miners. A lot more miners who are actually doing the work. Yeah, he's done everything he could to empower the people that ruined those guys' lives. So that's nice. Well done. Let's zoom out the national stage. So again, Mitch McConnell has been the leader of the Republicans, either the Senate majority or minority leader, for about a decade. He's not currently doing that now, but up until very recently he was. During that time, he famously called himself the Grim Reaper of the Senate, saying that nothing was going to pass under his rule. Like outright, his statement was to cause American democracy to grind to a halt and get nothing done. If you've ever wondered why we don't do anything, that's why. I mean, there's obviously more factors than just that, but his impact cannot be understated. I remember seeing this man go up onto the floor of Congress and genuinely make the case that making voting day a national holiday is socialist, as if that's a bad thing. Anyway, he would go on to block Obama from seating a Supreme Court Justice, Merrick Garland. Merrick Garland was appointed about a year out from the next presidential election, to which Mitch McConnell said, nah, that won't do. It's too close to the election. The American people deserve to have a say in this. I refuse to even have a vote on this candidate. The Senate has to confirm Supreme Court justices, and Mitch McConnell was in charge of the Senate. And he just said, no, I'm just gonna not do that. And he did that for a year. And then under Trump, he sat 3 justices, one of whom was sat 28 days before the election. Strange that. Weird. He's also one of the main reasons that we have Citizens United. He fought hard to remove caps on how much money corporations can put into politics. He argued money is speech and speech is democracy. And because of that, companies should be able to pour an unlimited amount of money into our election. Because it's just not fair that these giant faceless corporations aren't being represented as much as the people in this government. I sure am glad that Palantir has more of a vote than I do. He loudly championed Trump's tax plan in 2017, saying that it was going to be a pivotal moment for the American economy. And that has turned out to be an abject failure. It was entirely tax cuts for the rich, and now that we've had enough time since 2017 to analyze the economic fallout, it has been a complete and total disaster. Mitch McConnell is a career politician who focused on changing the game to make it all about preventing things from happening while enriching yourself. That is just his legacy. While that sounds like, oh, that could be anyone in Congress, he is the prototype. He is the one that normalized this beyond any doubt. He is the one that would go up and say, look, I'm going to just flaunt my political power and abuse it. I'm going to completely ignore any kind of history and just do what I want. And no one can stop me. Does that sound familiar? I could go on and on and on about just how much hypocrisy this man embodies, but it doesn't matter because these people don't feel that shame. And so we near the end of Mitch McConnell in the United States Senate, which again has been for more than my whole life. I have not known a world in which this man did not have his finger on the scales of our future. And so hopefully now you too understand why Mitch McConnell deserves to burn forever in whatever hell he believes in. And I will update you as to when the next best gender-neutral bathroom is unveiled after he's buried. Hey, do you like what I do and you want to help me continue to do it? Here's 3 great ways that you can do that. 1 is easy and free. Share it. If you share my stuff, it really does help. It makes the algorithm happy. More people see it, gets new eyes. It's genuinely helpful. 2, Patreon. Patreon.com/Endeavorance. Every tier gets access to everything. You get a big backlog of content, early looks at new projects, monthly Q&As, all sorts of stuff. Lastly, check out my merch store, merchfrom.dev. There's all sorts of designs. They range from subtle and simple to deeply unhinged. So I got you covered. Anyway, thanks for being here. All right, moving on. Let's talk about gamers and entertainment. But first, gamers. Pokemon Go delete your data. Pokemon Go developer Niantic, they're selling off their gaming division. Does that sound confusing? That's because they were mostly a data collection company. Yes, the company that makes Pokemon Go is selling off Pokemon Go to a Saudi mobile game developer company because they already got the data they wanted, and now they can just go to do contracting stuff. Pokemon Go being a very strongly geolocation-focused app, it was all about getting people to walk around, collect data, and map out the Earth and whatnot. It was entirely just using you to generate data so that they can make money. All wrapped up in a Pokemon game, because what better way to get people to do what you want than make them think they're just playing a game? It's insidious, it's gross, it's nasty. But everyone who did play Pokemon Go agreed to this. Technically, it was in the terms of service. That doesn't make it okay, but it makes it legal. Now, you might be like, oh, I don't care, you know, they can, like, what are they gonna do with my data? Who cares, blah, 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 blah. I get it. The point is, they fucked everyone over. Hey kids, come play this Pokemon game. Anyway, we're gonna go contract out this data to whoever the highest bidder is now. Like, regardless of your personal sentiment on whether or not your personal data is something you care about or not. That's not the important thing here. It is the mass surveillance that's just generally not a thing we want, especially in the hands of private corporations who, again, only look for profit. I am not out here to hype up governments and tell you that every government as it exists today is good. But at least the abstract concept of the governing body of a people is a group that is trying to work for the people, not for themselves. In theory, a public organization is working for the betterment of the public, not enriching themselves, which is exactly what every private company that's collecting all of your data is trying to do. Anyway, I said let's talk about gamers, but now we're going to talk about the gamer, the CEO of GameStop. This man, the CEO of GameStop, went full capital G gamer because they're selling off their Canadian and French wings of the company, and he was like, ugh, we're selling it, they're all woke and terrible. I shit you not. The CEO of an actual company went onto Twitter and publicly posted an email address saying, hey, email this address if you want to put in an offer to buy our Canadian and French wings. You get the wokeness and liberalism for free. Like, bro, what? Here's the quote. Email m&a@gamestop.com if you're interested in buying GameStop Canada or Micromania France. High taxes, liberalism, socialism, progressivism, wokeness, and DEI included at no additional cost if you buy today. You're an adult. You're a human adult. Do you hear yourself or read yourself? It was a tweet. I'm so far and beyond done with people saying woke and DEI about everything. You sound moronic. If you can't get through the day without being upset about black people and women existing, I think you have some self-reflection to do. Anyway, Cora has some explaining to do. This is not gamer, this is just entertainment now. That's right, we've got Avatar news. I'm actually so fucking excited, y'all. We got official word that there's gonna be a new entry in the Avatar The Last Airbender series, a new show starring a new Avatar. It takes place after Korra. They're already greenlit for 2 seasons, and it is being developed by the original showrunners. It is going to be titled Avatar: Seven Havens, and it apparently takes place after Korra, and the world has kind of gone to shit. and the Avatar is now considered the destroyer of humanity instead of the savior. It's gonna be starring an earthbending Avatar, and I'm hyped, and I'm hyped, and I'm hyped. Bonus thing, we're getting a new Avatar book as well, and it stars the most niche imaginable character from the Avatar universe. If you're watching this and you're like, I know nothing about Avatar, why are you talking about this so much? Deal with it. The character who's going to be the star of a new upcoming Avatar novel is the girl that Zuko went on a date with in Tales of Ba Sing Se. Just that random girl that was all up in Zuko's face and was like, hi, I'm cute. And Zuko was like, fine, I'll date you. And then he ran away. Her. She was too good for him anyway. So that's neat. Hold on to that. Hold on to the neat. We're going back in. Technology. Last week, I talked about Apple being asked by the UK to give the UK government a backdoor into Apple's encrypted iCloud data protection stuff. We have an update. Apple has said, no, we're not going to do that. We're just going to completely get rid of that feature in the UK. So they kind of basically did that. Apple is removing the ability for users in the UK to use the end-to-end encryption option for iCloud. This was in response to the UK government saying, we want to be able to access the encrypted data. This basically just does that without compromising the security system for other users. It's more of a containment of the possible fallout rather than completely capitulating. But Apple has now gone on record saying we will never build a backdoor. So we'll see. Their track record does show that. It does. I got to give them that. If you followed my content for any extended period of time, you may have heard me talk about how Silicon Valley and tech at large is literally a cult. That's what this part's about. Between Elon Musk thinking he needs to populate the world with his genius DNA and Peter Thiel injecting himself with the blood of the young, there's weird shit going on. And all of it comes from the same place, the deeply rooted history of eugenics in Silicon Valley. It is storied and terrible. It's why you hear tech bros talk so frequently about IQ. IQ is deeply tied to eugenics, and that's why they're so into it. They might not realize that's why, but it all follows the same pattern of, oh, I'm amazing. I'm the smartest person who ever lived, and I have so much money now, and it's my job to fix everything by making it in my image. They liken themselves as gods, basically. And so what comes out of all of this is a delusion that they are the ones who must save the world. And so they start coming up with these ideas and they start trying to apply what they think solutions look like to humanity. Now remember, these are tech bros. They've got computer science degrees. And I'm talking as somebody who has a computer science degree and worked in tech for 15 years surrounded by these people. I know how they think. They look at a problem and they think, how can I solve this through the lens of my technology experience? That is why Silicon Valley is constantly coming out with solutions to problems that no one had. We don't need self-driving cars and a credit card that can store all of your credit cards. We need food distribution mechanisms. But one manifestation of this are rationalists, which are a borderline religious level group of people who believe that they can solve the world's problems with like math and logic to optimize the problems away. If you've ever heard the term effective altruism, it's the same circle. It's not all the same thing, but they're all in the same groups. There's a ton of different names for this that all try to sound good on the surface, but underneath, when you dig down, you just get back to eugenics. So one of these groups has a spin-off group called the Zizians, or the Center for Applied Rationalists. There's basically a cult that's been out there doing murders across the country, and their leader just recently got arrested. I'm not going to dig into the very specifics of that one subgroup and what they've been doing. There's tons of reporting on that. You can go search Zizians if you want to. The point I'm trying to make is this isn't just hyperbole. I'm not looking at people who I disagree with and saying, they're in a cult. It's literal. There are compounds in the mountains. There are myriad tech oligarchs who are putting untold millions of dollars into trying to reverse aging because they're afraid of death because it equalizes them with the rest of us. There's a long documented history of eugenics research at the universities that all of the big tech firms prioritize hiring from. It's all out there. Like it's all just there, out in the open. But there's so much trust and money put into Silicon Valley that it just festers, uninhibited. During my time in tech, there were essentially two types of people that I worked with. People who wanted to fuck off, never touch a computer again, and become farmers, and people who thought that they were one startup away from being king of Earth. And unfortunately, the split is approximately 50-50. But fuck that. Let's talk about the Humane AI pin, which is now just a brick. You might remember last year, this company called Humane came out with an AI pin, like you wore it on your shirt, that you would talk to, and it had like a little mini projector to project stuff on your hand, and it was trying to be an AI assistant. They built it as the next thing after smartphone. So much so that it didn't integrate with your phone or computer. It was its own standalone device with its own subscription. And it didn't work. It was really, really, really bad. It was terrible, and it was universally lambasted by reviewers. And now, they're being sold to HP, and they're shutting down. In a few days, every Humane AI pin will cease to function. It'll just become a $700 paperweight. We love e-waste. So that's a fun end to the chapter of a gold rush for AI hardware. Can we stop now? Lightning round. A man in Florida shot 2 people who he thought were Palestinian, and so he tried to kill them. Turns out they were Israeli, and also posted about how much they hated Palestinians online. Here's the weather. The US government once again fired a bunch of officials that they're now trying to rehire, this time in the USDA, people who were working to try to stop bird flu. After some political bluster and back and forth, the governor of New York has stated that she will not be removing Eric Adams as the mayor of New York City. An entire police department in Alabama is on leave after a grand jury said that they should entirely shut down the department because the department has been operating more like a criminal organization than a police office. Great. Now do the rest of them. At time of recording, Pope Francis is not doing great. He's been dealing with pneumonia, he's been in critical condition in the hospital, and he's been having like cardiac events is what they're saying. It very well may be the case that by the time this video goes up, we live in a popeless world. And finally for today, the new US Secretary of Energy said that he would love to see Australia get into the uranium production game. Australia is already one of the world's largest producers of uranium. What a real country. That is all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, all that stuff. It helps a ton. My name is Endeavorance. I'll be back on Monday. Take care and be well.